your office equipment protection.
All right. Did you hear that? We are being recorded.
So is that like their extended warranty?
So, all right. Focus. We're recording. All right, guys.
Hey, we're recording now. So
welcome, everybody. This is our Zoom YouTube shot at our 100th podcast. We've brought all the official Scotchy Bourbon Boys for the podcasts. Everybody who's been consistent podcasting, Roxy, Tiny, Supernash, Xavier, and Young Nose are all joining us. I think that from time to time we'll get together and do this. This just makes sense. If this works out and we're recording and everything works out great, we can hear. I've got a special microphone over here recording the speaker so that when I can even play the music through the speaker and you guys are all talking, everybody hears you. Everything seems to be like this is going to be a blast tonight, like we're all together. Remember the 100th. No bars held back.
Century.
Once again, I want to.
No holds barred.
No holds barred, man. We're gonna stone cold the fuck out of this, right?
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do in the setup of the format is just basically kind of review from start to how we got to this point. Everybody, for what? There you go. Yes, I should have the Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible and no, not Whiskey Bible. Jim Murray's, what is it? The Authority.
Whiskey Authority.
How much bourbon have you had, Tiny?
Michael Jackson's
Definitive World Guide.
Definitive World Guide, right?
Yes.
Then it's Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible.
Yes,
that's it. And so those are, so we're reviewing the actual names of them. So when we start to actually do the podcast, that on the audio, they'll have it, but it's kind of cool. Yeah. I think
the book that I have with me this is the one I picked up. It's called Whiskey, A Tasting Course by Eddie Ludlow.
Ooh.
Oh,
excellent.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, and don't forget the whiskey calendar, which
that was the original.
The whiskey calendar. Yep. It was
on clearance.
Yeah.
It was on
I got what brought me to you guys.
That's it right there, the 1792 foolproof.
Yeah, the foolproof. Yes.
The foolproof, the Charlie's.
Yep.
Which I'm actually, this is the very last pour of my bottle that I'm enjoying tonight in honor of the 100th episode.
Cheers to the 100th episode.
And then Jeff and I can reminisce about our conversation. Who's this guy that wants to come here from South Carolina?
Exactly.
Like, is he nuts? Yeah. Do we really want to let a stranger into our house we know nothing about?
Yeah.
Fuck it, yeah, let's do it.
Hey, kind of the same kind of conversation was going on. Sherry's like, "You really want to go up there? Fuck yeah, I want to." I knew Jeff. I was like,
all right.
Him.
Yes, but wait. We gotta get this on.
Okay,
and here we are.
And then once we get all the stuff, everything that we're doing and everything, then we're gonna talk about going forward. What's gonna happen at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, where we're at. So just let it go, let it loose tonight.
Let it rip.
And I'm not. Just so you know. The rest of the night, I'm right. No, just fucking kidding. I got schooled on that last one. I should have known.
Bad, yeah. Because John is young and he has a brain that remembers.
Well, Bill's older than me and he has a brain that remembers.
That's because I'm not drinking tonight.
For God's sake.
All right.
Because I'm not drinking tonight. That's why.
There you go. Well, I haven't really been drinking either.
This is Jeff's glass. Empty. Nothing.
Oh, that was dry. There wasn't even a drop.
No.
Except it went on my leg. Wait a second.
Wait, you got to go down there and lick it.
That was some William. I just had a little bit of William Dalton before, but But then we'll just review the people that matter, the people we've met, all that. All right.
Yep.
So get ready to be quiet for the first minute. I'm going to hit start recording. Skip. Yep. All right. 1 hour. Here we go. 2, 1.
Oh yeah. I don't have my Moroccos tonight.
Singing James.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. That was Jim Morrison at the Matrix in 1967. And that has been a staple for the Scotchy Bourbon Boys pretty much from, I believe, episode 10, but I could be wrong.
Probably.
Wait, Young Nose, I am wrong.
Oh my gosh.
I honestly, I don't know on this one.
Okay.
I really don't know when we started using the Jim Morrison The Doors song. I know it was a little later because we were kind of going through and picking random ones, but it might have been 10.
Maybe. Who knows? That was the historic 10th. Well, that brings us to, this is the historic 100th. Woo!
100. All right.
Whoever
Yeah.
thought we'd get to 100. That's just crazy to me that we've done 100 episodes of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and how far along it's come. I mean, one thing that's really cool is we have 2 sponsors now. I'm working on finalizing the deal on the Log Still Distillery. That's why I'm wearing my hat for Log Still backwards tonight, because not yet, it's not finalized. But we are working on it. Monk's Road, that whiskey is a delicious whiskey, and I can't wait to get the media and also the check. Anyways, but we do have
I can't wait to get the whiskey.
Yeah, oh, me too, that's for sure. But we do have an actual sponsor, and that is Alan Bishop at the Spirit of French Lick. No, I don't need those because I have the light from the camera. Spirit of French Lick, the largest pot still distillery in Indiana, is leading the way, representing both quality of Hoosier artisan distilling process while paying tribute to its inseparable past and the many pre-Prohibition era distilleries that once dotted the hills of southern Indiana. By implementing best practices from those early times with improved modern methods, Spirit of French Lick has created a unique place in the industry, not only in terms of its story, but also its method in methodology. Double pot still distillation retention, and concentration of flavor and aroma. I was almost freaking there, and that just
Say that 3
I
times.
was gonna say that's easy for you to say.
yeah.
You might should have took those glasses. She was
no,
offering.
it wasn't bad. It was, you know, that's just part of the whole thing. Fuck up the reading, you know.
Yeah.
That's tiny, right? Young Nose, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Right on cue.
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Not screwing up there. Just remember, we're recording.
Yes, I know we are recording.
Yeah.
I was letting you do
We're
your
like a
thing.
V8 engine where somebody.
This is what I normally
firing
do while you're
sequence.
doing the reading. I just kind of go through my notes and I kind of read through what I got going on over here while you're doing your opening thing. This is what you do.
For sure. I was just talking about the history of my fuck ups when I'm reading the promotions.
No, that's what people like about it, or at least some people anyway. Because
Yeah,
we're live, we're uncut, unfiltered. We don't edit really anything out. We just let it roll.
Yeah, I seem to be getting a little bit better until I fuck up.
That just means you're still human.
So for anybody listening for the first time, I am Tiny. That coming up behind me is Roxy.
Rolling up quick.
And then we have Young Nose Johnson.
Young Nose here.
We have Xavier. And
Greetings.
and we have Supernash. Supernash. That makes up
Bourbon hunter
the
extraordinaire.
exactly the bourbon hunting and the supplier for the Scotchy Boys of a good amount of what we taste. And it's just been an amazing what would you say ride
Yeah,
point.
it sure has been.
Where we are right now, I'm happy with the podcast is now for the current month gone over 1,100 downloads, which is something.
Wow.
Right.
We keep having to go along the Buzzsprout is the podcast company that we use to distribute the podcast to all the different podcasts, and we're on all the major podcasts through Buzzsprout. And it's got a website, but it also sets goals on the site, and we've been obtaining those goals and ahead of those goals. And so that's one of the kind of cool things. They said you should hit your 10,000 download through 200. That's your goal through 200 episodes, 10,000 downloads. Well, right now we're having our 100th episode, and we've had almost 8,500 downloads. So we're
Wow,
at that
excellent.
goal. And
Yeah.
but the last 3 months, if we get if this podcast hits and we get some more, we're going to be on almost 975 downloads per month average, and we're over 1,000 for the first time in June. And I'm looking forward. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's it's kind of like a snowball. It'll just start. Once you start that ball rolling, you got to really push it hard at the start. But once it starts going, we'll be able to kind of just start to let that thing just get bigger and bigger. And at 100 episodes, this is going to be a fun one.
Talk to the green light.
Talk to the green light?
Yeah. While you're not looking at the ground.
No, I'm actually
to the green light.
talking to the actual.
Why are you pointing at me, Roxy?
It's like your teleprompter. Like if you were, on television, you have to talk to the.
So, yeah, thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
really appreciate it. Like, yes.
Yeah, look more towards your listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll open my eyes.
Yeah.
Yay!
So the start of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, it evolved, but when we first started, I kind of it started by me going to Books A Million and looking for a desktop calendar for my office where, I wanted to have a calendar, and it was a 50% off whiskey calendar. And it had daily facts, and it had daily or probably 3-4 times a week whiskey review,
different whiskey suggestions. That like had actual whiskeys of different brands and kind of gave a description of what it tasted like, what it smelled like, whether it's peated, Scotch, bourbon, whatever. I remember that because that was kind of how we really got to know each other a little bit more outside of work.
Yeah, for sure. Every morning we would get there and be drinking our coffee, and we'd be flipping that, and at first we didn't realize the way that people tasted whiskey. I mean, we were reading reviews. Michael Veach was in there. Fred Mick, they talked about, and you'd read the reviews and you're just like, what the fuck are they talking about? This is whiskey. it's smooth coffee aroma with apricots, and there's a couple of them where like creme brulee and caramel mixed with a little bit of toasting, and you're just me and Young Nose were like, well, we gotta really kind of try this and buy some bottles, and especially some of the bottles that had what would you say, that had reviews that just sounded delicious. And it wasn't it wasn't so much bourbon, or because Xavier, myself and you, or we were before even the whiskey calendar, you were always into bourbon, there's no doubt, into the Evan Williams, and we would get together and we would have some, I would have some Jim Beam or Evan Williams with you, but we really kind of started getting into the spirit aspect when we started to drink the different types of absinthes, wouldn't you say?
Yes, the absinthe venture, chasing the green fairy, is what got us really interested in all different types of liquor. But I been a bourbon fan from way back, and that seemed to be when we weren't drinking absinthe and using our absinthe fountains, bourbon was the go-to poison.
Or the one that finished the night off, because you just can't drink that much absinthe. So we always ended up having a couple whiskeys to finish the night. That was for sure. But then, as you would say, when Young Nose and I started doing the calendar and we started buying scotches, and and we had done a little bit of scotch, but we weren't that much into it. I had a couple scotches or whatever, but when we started to compare them and start to taste them for tasting, and then really took that bourbon aspect a little one step further. But the other aspect is that when we started doing that, Young Nose and I had the idea that me, him, and Raybo would get together and form a group. And we formed this group, and then we had the group and the date set for about 3 weeks in advance. And then on the night of, we were like, well, let's just call over Xavier. And you showed up for the first meeting, so it was us four. You pretty much you didn't know what to expect in that first meeting. I think we dropped it on you right there, and then you came.
I don't know what to expect in any subsequent meeting. What are you talking about?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I can never.
No, it was a great time, and it was John, Young Nose and Tiny. That was a great idea on your part, and obviously I wholly concur with it. And it's just been a ton of fun and very educational ever since.
Well, I think Xavier, you were like, whiskey? Did you say whiskey? And you said, you're like, I'll be right over. That's about how it happened. And so anyway, So anyways, then
I've gone to places where I've been, bored to tears without whiskey. So how bad could it have been? So I figured, well, what the heck, I'll go over.
Well, so then we're starting this, and then there's the calendar that taught that first year of the calendar. We were going through this, Young Nose, and we saw that there was Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So at that point on September 20th, we were like, hey, Kentucky Bourbon Festival, let's plan a year in advance and go. And
right.
So
I do remember that, because when we first started the calendar, the Kentucky Bourbon Festival was one of the first few that we saw, and that really sparked our interest. Is like, wait a minute, this is a local thing, and then it's like not that far away, but yeah, so it definitely sparked our interest even more going into the Bourbon Festival.
Well, then I wasn't sure how I was going to present it to Roxy here, but then
I presented it to you.
Yes, it turned out even better than you thought.
You didn't even know we knew about it. No, just go over that.
Yes, so I was speaking at a conference in Lexington, and I happened to, the girl who was planning the conference put a list of fun things to do, in and around the area. And one of them was, touring distilleries. And I saw that Bourbon Fest butted up against the conference dates. So Bourbon Fest was first, correct? And then the conference.
Yep.
And so I came to Jeff and said, hey, guess what? We're going to this conference in Kentucky, and guess what? Bourbon Festival is a few days before the conference. Why don't we make a week of it, and we'll do Bourbon Fest and then, finish off with the conference, which of course was 3 days of work for me, but
I couldn't freaking believe it, because I was like, she's like, when I'm like, we were just reading about that on the calendar, and we were trying to figure out how we could get there, and you're just telling me you want to go.
Guess what? It's a business trip.
So, is this my wife?
It's like,
this my wife?
Holy
I think that's called serendipity.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then
but it was perfectly.
Now that was like in
Plus it was our
October when she brought that up, okay? And then so I started saving money for this thing, because I didn't want to go to Bourbon Festival on a fucking budget. Not. So I started.
I had to keep quiet.
I started just pilfering away money. It was like going into it, and she had no idea. I'm like, if I want to buy a bourbon, or I want to do a thing, I don't want to worry about, we don't have what. So I just basically started doing.
I'm the only one that worries about that.
No, well, you make me worry, but I normally just naturally don't. It's like so then so we start planning this, and then comes the Xavier aspect of we're trying to figure out with Xavier. I bring it up to him. Hey, in September, and this is like in the November, I'm like,
it's October. Yeah, it was October because we had just received some horrible health news about Karen, and I really couldn't focus on past what was going to go down. Now, spoiler, she's fine, but we didn't know that at the time, and so it was kind of tenuous how we were going to do it. And then once we got over that hump, I was trying to, how am I going to get Karen to want to do this? Because at the time, I want to stress, at the time, she was not a bourbon drinker per se.
Well, neither was I.
No, right.
Yeah, and neither was Rachel. But
and obviously,
Roxy,
based off that one night in Kentucky, neither was I.
At any rate, then all of a sudden, being the rocket scientist that I am, I thought, well, Kentucky, horses. My wife likes horses. If I can engineer this to get her on the horse somewhere in that process, I'm sure she's down for it. Yeah. And that's what we did. So we ended up, going to Bourbon Fest, and we had an outstanding time. Thanks in no small part to Tiny and Roxy's research on what events were there and the order that we were going to do them in, and the fact that they came up with the barn burner idea to, rent the bed and breakfast. And so we just had an awesome time there. It was just, I'll let you resume the story. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tiny.
And that bed and breakfast we have frequented many times and go back to, and they're wonderful hosts. And
yes.
Yeah, we love that place.
Love
We're
that
going
place.
again in September again. We'll be there.
Already another time this year, and we're headed back in September.
So it's kind of like the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, Blissful
Our
Acres.
hub. Even though it's Blissful Acres,
Scotchy
it's
Bourbon
Scotchy
Boys,
Bourbon.
Bardstown Hub.
Blissful Acres, yes.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like our version of Hernando's Hideaway for those of you who remember that song.
From the Pajama Game,
Yeah.
which I sang in my freshman year of high school. So,
wonderful, yes. So
good.
as we go along, we're working. First, we bring it up to Xavier, and he's kind of like, we can't even think about that. And then I'm squirreling away money. She's planning. We booked this house, so it didn't matter. We had enough rooms for whoever wanted
yeah, it
to
was
come.
3 bedrooms and
So that leads us to so then the tickets go on sale in March. I basically get every ticket. We go to the whole thing.
we were VIPs. We had to go to the
and
VIP
then-
lounge.
And then Young Nose is able to convince that your wife, right, at the time? Yes, you got married that winter, right? Not at the time.
84. I'm sorry. What?
You got
Wifey was trying to signal me something. She's telling me something like low key without having to say it. But
yeah, but you guys got married that winter, right? That you got married in between that. What year did you get? What year were you?
Yeah, we got married in 2016 in October.
Okay, so you guys were already.
They were
So
already married.
you just
we were already
out
married.
how to convince.
They've been
your
married
wife to
almost
go.
3 years.
So we were able to come up a plan for you to be able to convince Lena to go also, that there was other things besides Bourbon Festival to see in Kentucky. So that was a good
Kinda. The other things other than the Bourbon Festival wasn't really a trigger per se. It was more or less just she didn't want me to be by myself with a group of people drinking whiskey. And so she wasn't really going to not come.
Okay,
so
there you go.
so
But
it
you
was
guys-
more
Yeah,
it was more or less I'm going and she's coming along with me, but we did end up making try to make some fun out of it, but
Oh yeah.
but we weren't able to come as long as you and Xavier were, but we did make it down that Friday night. Was there all day Saturday, and then Sunday we were with you up in had breakfast, and then we ended up leaving from there because I know you guys were going to Louisville on the way up.
yeah.
No, we actually
Yeah.
stayed a couple more days and just did tours
Yeah.
of distilleries, and
Yeah,
then
we went to Louisville. We went to Churchill Downs.
So after Kentucky Bourbon Festival was like fantastic. It just basically pulled us all together for that weekend and everything. And so then we get into October, throw another meeting, and that is when Supernash.
Supernash.
Or that we contact him. You had gone to Kentucky Bourbon Festival also, correct?
Actually, me and Sherry had went up and did the distillery trail tour, not knowing that it was the Kentucky Bourbon Festival
Okay.
at the time. And so missed all the events, but we were there doing the trail at the same time.
Wow.
And,
So you
all
kinda were
around
there.
all this stuff. So
Yeah, I guess
at the same time, y'all were there. Yeah.
it's also worth mentioning that you finished the Kentucky Bourbon
Yes. Well,
in 1 week's time.
yeah,
So that
it's
might be
9
a
days,
record.
That's an awesome feat.
78
8
miles. And that trek to
And a
Ozzie
whole-
Tyler was a feat of amazing, lots of driving, that's for
Mhm.
sure. But so anyways, so we start to have this meeting, and you had seen the painting I had done because I promoted the fact that we had Fred and Freddie Nose had signed the painting, and that we were with the
Yes.
themes and everything. And
Yeah.
you're like, hey, that painting, I think I've got that Booker's. That's what you said to me right there. And
There it is.
there it is.
It was happy
And
impressed.
this is the one.
In the
This
paint.
Wow, there it is.
one, 18K. Yep. I actually I looked at that bottle.
Still not even halfway.
I just had found that bottle, a dusty old bottle, because we found out that it was from 1994.
Ooh, is that Booker's?
Yeah,
that
that is. This is a full bottle.
That's the full bottle. Hey, are you bringing that to Kentucky Bourbon Festival?
Yes, I am bringing it to Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Man.
Maybe we can share that with Sandy and
that was from the
Brett,
spill.
Yes, I am.
Huh?
Hey, do you have the decanter thing?
Yes, I do.
Do you have it there to show us?
Well, I got it right here behind me. and there goes Supernash again.
So, anyways, we met. I met him, and we were talking about the different things. In 1792, the Foolproof had just been named the Jim Murray Whiskey Bible Whiskey of the Year.
I didn't realize anything spilled.
He was able to. He was completely able to. Here comes the decanter. He was able to. Ooh,
this is the Jim Beam decanter
that we are going to be opening up when we get to Bourbon Festival with Sandy and Fred.
I can't hear you. You're just gonna have to tell me.
1969.
You want to pack my lunch?
Unopened, full bottle. Jim
Holy
Beam.
mackerel.
Yeah, unbelievable. So that part, we got talking, and you said that you could. Okay, let me see. There we go. You said that you could make. You could get us a case of that 1792 Foolproof.
Yeah, and you just asked. You're like, well, how can I get a hold of it? And I was like, well, hell, I'll send you up a case. And you were like, you do that? And I was like, yeah. I didn't mind. I trusted you.
Yeah, and so we got that we got that case up, and we shared it, and there we go. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we
and the case that he's talking about is this Charlie's Wine and Spirits 1792 Foolproof that I am drinking the last pour of tonight.
Yes, and I think I still have 3/4 of that bottle because I've had so much bourbon since. I think I've compared that to the one that when we went back and we bought the 1792, the actual the whiskey of the year, not the single barrel Foolproof. But so I compared those two. But
me and you both bought a bottle that day.
But you sent us up the case, and I was able to distribute it amongst the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and we had a meeting with that being our main focus of the meeting. So then the next meeting comes to it, and we do it, and you. It was so awesome. You come in that November meeting. We got you.
Actually, it was December 12th.
December, yes,
12th,
right. But I still think it was the next meeting because we do 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think there was another meeting in between. No. You were able to come up to that meeting.
Yeah, it was the October meeting that I sent you up the 1792, and I don't think you had a November. And I came straight on up to the December 12th meeting.
Yeah, and that was. And that meeting was just off the charts. Wouldn't you say, Xavier? I mean, that meeting
that was awesome. That was the meeting and what we did that day, and going to the Still House, and then when we ate supper there at the Crush House. That was a ton of fun, and of course we got to meet Martin and Sherry. I mean, that was just. Mark, cheers. If I was drinking tonight, we'd be drinking a toast.
Exactly. That deserves a toast. And cheers to all y'all to that. Because, and matter of fact, speaking of 100th episode, that was my very first podcast with the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.
Yeah.
All right.
And it was with this bottle. And Tiny, do you remember what happened when you opened this bottle?
I do. The cork went in.
The cork busted.
And I think I shit my pants.
Yeah, because you were like, holy shit. What on there?
Just broke off. It's just like when we did that. You remember that, Young Nose, when the cork broke off on the Bookers and on that podcast, just right on the podcast. I went to open it and we were gonna drink it, and boom.
Yep, I do remember that. You popped that top and we both looked at each other like, oh, what do we do now?
We all did. It was a first for me, and
you're saying that to make me feel good.
Such an excellent bottle of bourbon too.
For a live action moment, I'm gonna pause the idea of thought here for a second. I accidentally knocked over my Glencairn and spilled some bourbon, and now I kind of ruined my wood table. I didn't realize it spilled out because I thought it was down low enough that it wasn't gonna fall out. But it did.
It's like the episode when I spilled it on my pants.
Yeah.
I honestly, seriously have not in my life spilled bourbon other than that one time where it just dumped completely. I think we were podcasting with it might have even been Alan Bishop, and it just dumped all over me and I had to shut up. It's just but other than that, that's the only time I've dumped a Glencairn, or anything, because it's just, we all know, and same thing with you, we all rarely spill. That's the goal.
It's definitely a rare thing.
There's a lot of hard-earned money goes into that bourbon. We don't spill it.
Yeah, and a lot of sweat, and yes, a lot of work. So that brings us to now we've got Martin brought in, and that was one of the early on podcasts. Between that October meeting and that December podcast, that's when we started podcasting. So when you came in, we had but when you sent us up the 1792, we hadn't decided that we were going to do a podcast yet. It was that first podcast was early November. I think November 4th was our first podcast, and you were up by December 7th, and we were only doing one a week. So that, I think you were the fourth podcast.
Yeah, the fourth or fifth. Yeah, it was right in there. Real early.
So then we keep going. We'll just, now we start to run around. And we had, I think, which episode was it? Number that Xavier and Young Nose decided that we kind of change the format of the podcast. I think that was a wild podcast. We're talking about the making of the mark. Was that the one?
Making the Marking. That was what it's called. It's season 1, episode 28 or something like that. It was the one done on June 2nd, 2020.
Yeah, and that one was wild. That was one of our wilder podcasts. I mean, we just kind of fucking went for it and lost it. I mean, it was just like at one point, I don't know, you listen back on it and there was a raw, just fucked up aspect of it that we just were, what we were.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was.
I'm not sure what was more fun, doing the actual podcast or playing it back afterwards.
Yeah,
because I'll tell you what, I left there with my chest and sides and stomach hurting so bad from laughing. That was.
You're absolutely right, Bill. Afterwards, once we went back and listened to it, like we just died the whole way. Just like we couldn't stop. I don't understand.
I'm pretty sure that's the one I had to pull over on the side of the road. Where I was literally in tears working, and I called you guys and told you that you're gonna have to stop that shit. That I was working, I couldn't be doing that shit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was the one.
Yeah, I'm positive that's the one. I says, y'all have got to stop that shit. I am working. I can't be pulling over on the interstate rolling laughing at your podcast because that's the only time I can listen to them a lot of times is while I'm driving down the interstate.
Yes, especially now that we're down here in South Carolina, the interstate's kind of crazy.
Yeah, what are you saying?
So,
You know, yeah, they drive wild down in the South, don't they?
so that
They don't know how to drive down.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. They don't know how. And
They
just
don't know how.
Yeah, in the
boom,
South,
flying.
Southern
You got
hospitality
over
doesn't
half
extend
the
to
people
the
flying
interstate.
going like 10 over, and then you got like the other half of the people going under.
Yeah.
Like they're not going the speed limit.
So as we went, at that point was when the pandemic started to hit, but we started to get our legs on under us, and we started getting guests onto the podcast. And one of the guests that we met early on was Greg Schneider, and so we were doing the whiskey live tastings, and
I gotta find me some of that.
he was participating.
Yes.
He was participating.
I agree with you, Roxy.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's
Already got
that's
mine
in our glasses tonight.
Was in
Cheers
my
to Greg.
glass.
Cheers to Greg Schneider.
So smooth.
Delicious
Yes.
15-year
Oh, so
barrel
good.
proof. I mean, it's one of the more amazing bourbons that
Good
we've
stuff.
had. And but with Greg, he just instantly took a liking to us, and he took us under his wing. I mean, he would call and talk. He hunts, and so when Martin and Xavier were talking to him, I mean, it's just like I just remember the one night after we did the tasting, and Xavier and I were we called him up, and he's in his kitchen, and he's in the middle of passing kidney stones.
Kidney stones, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, just, it's like he's into all this pain, but yet he's telling us about chicken cock whiskey. He's telling us about all the stuff that he's done, and just an amazing guy, and how we've evolved with him, and how many times he's been on the podcast numerous times. We're going to be podcasting hopefully from Kentucky Bourbon Festival with him. We're going to see him when we're down there, when he's going to be at the Bardstown Bourbon Company when our bus tour hits and rolls up. He's going to be the one that's going to be giving us the tour that day. So Greg has been nothing but wonderful, and a great friend of the show. He's definitely one of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and I think he would have been able to if he wasn't such a fantastic fucking distiller, we would be podcasting with him weekly.
Yeah.
He's got to make the whiskey. He's kind of like the whiskey maker,
He's in the trenches.
He definitely said he wished he was with us tonight to podcast with us and be tasting with us.
But
so cheers to you, Greg Schneider, and thank you for all you do, and
Greg,
for all you've done for us. We really do appreciate you.
Yeah, we had a wonderful dinner with him and his wife at this amazing Italian restaurant, and
oh god, the last time we
some
were
of the
down there,
best food. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that was just such a fabulous time.
Yeah.
Come out and finish dinner with you.
Yeah,
it was just unbelievable. But so the what happened now is that the podcast is starting to just trickle at this point. I mean, I was happy with 200 downloads a month, and I was like, holy crap, 200 people want to download our stuff, and then and that kind of thing. But what was happening was the Facebook group was starting to go, and the Facebook group just kept brings in there's so many people in the industry. So many distillers are represented that we met, and who we talked to, and how we, Adam Edwards of Rabbit Hole, he's the first ever digital.
Cheers to Adam Edwards. He's a good guy.
Ambassador for them, and then
cheers, Adam.
Yep, and then through Greg Schneider, we met. Oh my God, I'm gonna have Steve
Nick
Nally
Smith and Steve Nally.
Yes,
yep.
Thank you. And then
Bardstown Distillery.
Bardstown Distillery. And then we were able to, through Jason Sparkman, who is the fermenter at Wilderness Trail, he introduced us to
Oh my gosh. That podcast episode was off the charts. I love that one. The Wilderness Trail one.
Yep.
That was so fun.
they're both Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And then we met Alan Bishop and Jolie Kasperzak. That insane spirit of friendship, forming that relationship between them, and then what Alan has been doing through the distilling, and then they became one of our sponsor. And it's just been, with the Spirit of French Lick and Alan Bishop, it's just been an amazing ride. How much they basically support us and talk to us and teach us about what they're doing, and how it's like bourbon doesn't have to be made a specific way that it's made in Kentucky. That you can do other things and you can still create different types of bourbon that are just spectacular, all that kind of stuff. But Alan Bishop has just been a huge Scotchy bourbon friend, and also Jolie Kasperzak. There's some big things that hopefully will be coming up soon, and we can't wait. So
hey, they're going to be on the bus with us when we're up there.
The bus.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
Bus is
Magic bus.
I mean, this bus has Xavier, Mrs. Xavier, Roxy, Tiny, Supernash, and then it's got a couple. His name is Aaron. I will have it eventually. But Aaron and his wife from Cleveland have booked the last 2 spots, and then you have Jolie and Alan also, and then we're really got our fingers crossed that it's looking like Sandy's going to be able to be on that bus tour. So 10 people with the Kentucky Bourbon Boys bus tour, and going to be going around to 3 awesome distilleries. Plus there's going to be, for the couple, for Aaron and his wife, we're going to be doing a flight. Supernash is going to be doing a flight. There's going to be
do a special flight. We're going to open up a couple of special bottles and all, and do some special pours. So yeah, it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, and that all came about because one of the drivers is a Scotchy Bourbon Boy.
Yes, Roger.
So
Roger is a Scotchy Bourbon Boy, and I saw all of his posts. He posts in the Scotchy Bourbon Boy, and he had mentioned that he had driven Tom Brady around.
And he's also a Kentucky Bourbon Boy.
Right. And they were the Kentucky Bourbon Boys. Our logo was stripped over when we were there the first time. I was outside the Bardstown Bourbon, kind of saw their van, so we took a picture of me in front of the van, and I took the Scotchy Bourbon Boys and put it on the back of that van. And so their van is a part of our the main podcast picture. So that's kind of a cool thing. So all right, so that just brings us up to we basically last year when it came. What it brings us to, we were going to go to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, but it was canceled. But we had the actual time booked, and we didn't unbook it. So we went that weekend for Kentucky Bourbon Festival that weekend, but we are actually there when it wasn't there, but we met a very, very important person.
Which is Randy Prosy.
Whoopity whoop, whoopity whoop, 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 whoop.
El Presidente Scotchy Bourbon Boy. He is the president of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another special. He's the one that gave me my Supernash, my podcast nickname.
Yep.
Your moniker.
Yeah, which was actually my first set-down podcast with Jeff.
Yep.
Since I had came up, it became a Scotchy Bourbon Boy.
Yep.
True, right.
So we get there, and I had met Randy. He had taken over Kentucky Bourbon Festival as the president, and I had contacted him and asked him to be a part of the group, but we're both Wisconsin boys. We pretty much grew up in the same area, and he had become part of the Wisconsin. He was the event coordinator, and he was the what would you say, the day-to-day operator of the Wisconsin State Fair, which at the time I was going to I was attending the Wisconsin State Fair. But he also is a huge Wisconsin sports lover, and we kind of pretty much hit it off. I didn't realize we were going to hit it off so well, but when we showed up in Bardstown, he asked us to have some pizza with him, and we ended up 3.5 hours later at the pizza joint, and then we went back to the house and did a podcast till 12:30 in the morning, and it was just a spectacular experience. And Randy had another huge, well-known person that's been a huge friend of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.
And yeah.
And you said he was president of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Did you mean to say he was president of
the?
No, we made him an honorary president.
He's president. He's the president of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. There's no doubt about that.
No, you said president of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.
He's El Presidente.
Yeah.
The president of the Scotchy Bourbon.
So he has dual titles. Okay.
Yes. He's El Presidente. And then he's ran with that one. Yes. And it's his connections, and then so we met him then, and he talked about the actual Kentucky Bourbon Festival that was happening. It was late October, right? Wasn't it, when it actually went down, right?
Yeah.
The virtual
one.
The virtual.
And we signed up for that.
Yeah, his first one was virtual.
Which was great.
Yeah, which was a blast.
Yeah, it went really well for being virtual. It was a lot of fun, a lot of interaction with the live chat and all the different videos and stuff. And then what's even great is all that stuff is still out and available. You can go and watch it right now if you wanted to.
Yep.
Martin won a drawing.
Yeah, that's what I said. A free signed Blanton's bottle.
It's the guy who wins everything. He's like, "Hey, sign up for this." I'm like, "I ain't fucking signing up. You sign up. You win everything. I win nothing." So he wins the Harlan Wheatley signed Blanton's bottle in this raffle at the end. I'm watching it. He's just out mowing the lawn. And I'm like, "Motherfucker, you won." And he's like, "What?" And he's just like, I'm like, "You won. You got to go watch yourself win." That mattered. So he was able to get that. And then there was a bunch of, we got the whole package with all the
kit of swag,
promotions.
The swag.
And
I just got a hint of rye whiskey on this. I don't know why, but this just sent out a whiff of rye whiskey.
This barrel.
What are you drinking on there, Jonathan?
I actually have a pour of Old Tub.
Old Tub?
Ooh, some good stuff.
I believe it is a little high rye and a little spicy.
Mm-hmm.
There's some thunder going on in the background here. So
Yes.
Thunder.
Yeah, it's a stormy night.
Yeah, we had a tropical depression yesterday, so it was a bit rainy.
Now it's knocking on our door.
So,
yeah.
So in that trip, we were able to podcast some more through different distilleries and see different people. But that Randy really kind of solidified our what would you say, our relation aspect to the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.
Relationship, your bromance.
I said the relationship.
Yeah, their
bromance.
Bromance. Whatever.
I know.
Bromance.
Yeah, they turned into a bromance and they sort of kicked me out. Kicked me to the side.
Just the two of us.
So so Randy has kept us, what would you say, right there in the mix all along. One, when we get down to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, this festival is going to be like no other. I'm looking forward to that. But he also got us in, myself on the Knob Creek barrel pick with Freddie No at the offices of Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which was a fantastic event. My first ever barrel pick. And then he got us all to go to the Luca Mariano barrel pick and launch.
Wow.
And
Yes.
that was something spectacular.
That was.
So
Here we go. Jonathan's showing the hat.
we gotta give kudos to Randy and what he's done to help the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And I'm just so for, you know, what we have going forward is just going to be amazing. But as all this stuff was happening and we were meeting and seeing and whatever, we then we got together. What was it? Oh, I went back down in November and saw them again, so that because I stopped off at the Spirit of French Lick to see Alan and Jolie, and then I went over and Coombsy was when we kind of saw Coombsy in the virtual. He was the host of all the virtual events for Kentucky Bourbon Festival, but then I got to meet Steve Coombs, and it was pretty fun night. We actually, if you remember, we did the rabbit hole tasting when I was in Kentucky with Coombsy and El Presidente, and we had Karen, Mrs. Xavier and Roxy at one location, and we had Supernash at another, and we did that live. Adam Edwards. I was hoping to take them over to the rabbit hole and do it live from the distillery, but we weren't able to do that because of the times we're in. But that was just another thing where we just kept taking this to a different level, and it's really kind of a cool thing that the Scotchy Bourbon Boys is evolving to. And then as we get more sponsors, we got a little bit of cash to work with. We still have been tasting in the Scotchy Bourbon Boys Glencairns, which Martin Duffy is another. Don't break that. That's another Scotchy Bourbon Boy. Martin Duffy is the North American Glencairn glass representative, and he's the one who has made it possible for these beautiful glasses to get out to our members. And then also we have a website, www.scotchybourbonboys.com, and you can purchase these beautiful Glencairns right from the website, or if you go to our Patreon site and you want to support us on Patreon, these are available through a monthly support setup, and you can get yours that way also. But Martin Duffy was also very important. Shout out to Randy, the El Presidente, Randy Prossi. He basically, as a Scotchy Bourbon Boy, I'll drink to him.
Cheers, Randy.
Cheers. But then Martin Duffy, he really helped me early on, hooking up. Right before COVID, we had Peggy No Stevens coming to do a tasting at Gervasi. I had that 90% set up, and we had Lou Bryson driving on his way to Chicago, stopping at a Scotchy Bourbon Boy meeting. Now,
yeah, we're gonna have to reschedule that.
I've talked to Lou about this, but he's going to be at Martin Duffy's going to be at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Lou Bryson's going to be there. He wants to podcast with us. I pretty much have gone through about 7 or 8 people already booking podcasts to podcast from the festival. So this festival is going to be on a different level for us this time, because when we get there, we just know. We know Michael James Hyatt, who helped us out. We know.
We have friends.
Right.
Yeah. We have friends.
That's right. Connection.
Yes, and so
you got people.
We got
right. So we know the podcasters. I look forward to talking. Hoping to meet Fred Minnick. He's just a fantastic podcaster. He's going to be there. Michael Veach will be there. All these people we kind of know. They know of us through Facebook and the group. So to meet them, this should be a really exciting time for the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. There's going to be 6,000 people a day at the festival, and I plan to hand out 18,000 cards.
Yeah, speaking of that, I haven't hit your goal yet. I haven't passed out all my cards.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Martin's fashionably showing off the Scotchy Bourbon Boys t-shirt there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Many of you don't know that in Jeff's previous life, he was a digital artist and a graphic designer and a airbrush artist, and so he designed the Scotchy Bourbon Boys logo. There you go, John's. So this is a piece of original artwork, and every state on there, correct, represents
Someone of the Scotchy Bourbon.
Somebody that is the
Yeah.
Although there's been a lot more since that started.
But that was sort of like the,
which is,
the first group of Scotchy Bourbon Boys. So people ask why California, why Ohio, why, et cetera.
That, and I think there just wasn't enough room to put all 50. Because I think the idea was bourbon is United States, not just Kentucky.
Yep.
That was also part of it.
I think we crashed.
We just had
a
as
power
far as
outage or something. The internet just went out, or I don't know.
did it?
Is that what?
Well, the internet didn't go out because you're still here.
Yeah, still here. And
Something happened.
I'm opening up. Let's see. That's the one. All right, so we're back on, but I got to just make sure we're recording.
Yep.
Yeah, it still says recording up in my top corner.
This might be the opportune time for me to do as graceful as possible exit. The next crash you're going to hear is my head hitting the keyboard.
All right. Well, good night.
So it was great seeing all of you. Thanks for including me.
great to see you, Bill. Love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. John, good to see you. I hope things are going well for you.
Thank you. Yes, things are going very well. The new job is going very good as well, and things seem to be rolling pretty good. So
good for you.
All right.
All right. Tiny and Roxy.
Good night.
Till the weekend. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, it looks like that the podcast studio on there. So this is going to be the podcast.
Yes,
because the podcast studio just crashed, and that's what we got. So we're at the finish right there. It's kind of, what would you say, par for the course to have a lightning strike or something, just completely shut off the whole podcast right in the middle of us talking. But I think we got through it. That's I'll just say that we finished up shortly after the end, whatever. But I think we got in the point of what we wanted on the 100th. But we're still recording. We're recording on this, so we can finish up.
Yeah, we're still recording on Zoom, so you can still have this on YouTube or wherever you're putting it, Facebook.
Exactly.
Yeah, if they let us.
Yeah. Right.
I have no idea if I'm going to be able to get this. I know I'm recording it, but will I be able to get it on YouTube? That'll be the technical question.
Yeah. I don't see why not. I mean, unless you dropped one too many F-bombs.
No, they don't give a fuck about that. They don't. It's like, that's not a problem.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Not on YouTube.
Yeah, I guess
look
that's true.
at the kitties in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Supernash.
Oh,
can't walk from John's house all the way 3.5 hours to Martin's. So.
Yeah, it's more like 5 hours.
That's silver bullet.
Oh.
It's 3.5 if you go about 100 the whole way.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Martin's done that before.
Yeah, I have.
So anyway, Martin, quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
What are some good places to check out here in the Charleston area as far as bourbon hunting?
That I couldn't tell you. To be honest. Yeah, I haven't been down at Charleston enough to bourbon hunt.
Okay, well, good.
But
that means I got something to look forward to.
But I am gonna send you a couple of links to some South Carolina bourbon clubs
Okay.
And Elliot Rice is one of them, and he's down there in the Charleston area. He
Okay.
knows all the bourbon stores down there, for especially
Okay.
the unicorn bottles and stuff like that.
Nice.
They've
Okay.
been
Yeah,
picking
that
up
would be cool.
They've been picking up some foolproof down there,
All right. Sounds good.
and a couple of
So
other
yeah,
things
if I
down
find
there,
if I find some good stuff, then I'll send some stuff up your way too, Tiny.
too.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Sounds great. But yeah, I'll definitely send you those links.
Okay, cool.
So that just leaves us where we're at, going forward. I really think
Next 100.
that the next couple months are going to be some big things for the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And I think with the Zoom that we just set up tonight, it'll allow us to podcast together more often, and then get this onto YouTube in a manner where people can, we don't have to like record me talking to you guys through a phone, where we've got this set up. And I mean, some of the main podcasts do it this way. So I know that I should be able to get this to Facebook. I should be able to get it on YouTube. I should be able to. So based off that, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. No doubt. I think this is the way to go.
What was that?
So yeah, for sure. But anyways, anybody else want to add something? What it meant to be, what the Scotchy Bourbon Boys has meant, going, to you?
I think what you say at the end of podcasts really sums up what the Scotchy Bourbon Boys has meant.
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at there, Roxy.
That
It's
bourbon
just
would bring, all of these, just talked about all these people that are now friends of ours and people that we enjoy having in our lives and enrich our lives, not just because of bourbon, but because they're great, amazing personalities and
and very humble, very down to earth, very compassionate, just straight up people. So
Speaking of that,
and we needed that during COVID, didn't we? I mean,
absolutely.
Little, interaction, personal interaction, and yet, we've fostered all these new relationships during a time when a lot of people were very isolated. So I feel very fortunate that bourbon has allowed us to do that.
I feel very fortunate that bourbon has allowed me to come together with all of y'all.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, you were lumped right into that whole.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you're part of that relationship building aspect, Martin.
He's like a member of the family now. You're a member of the family.
Yeah, and I just never in my mind ever thought that it would, come to something like this, and it's just so much fun and just just words can't describe.
Mm-hmm.
And just a big thank you to all of y'all. And
we thank you too, Martin. If it wasn't for your generosity in the beginning, then the Scotchy Bourbon Boys really wouldn't have been able to take off. Like Tiny was saying in the beginning, we just had little podcasts, couple people here and there, but with your generosity and constantly allowing us to have different things to taste and talk about, that was a huge part. It really was. So thank you.
Like I say, I think it was just a combination of all of us, and so cheers to all of us, and
cheers
to what we've started, and to where we're going, and to the future of it.
And I want to finish up with the last person, Sandy No, meeting her at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, but then also through the painting that drove Supernash and us together.
Yes.
And she hung it in her house and showed it, and we kind of bonded. I did a painting of her best friend and got that to her this year. And it's kind of like that same thing, bourbon brought Sandy know, Fred and Freddie know, are us being able to be a part of a little bit of part of their family and what they've been all going through. And I'd like to just do a cheers to Sandy.
Cheers.
And what she's meant to us. We've all been down there podcasting with her.
We love her.
And she's just
Cheers, Sandy. We love you, and
yes, we love you, Sandy, and you're just a wonderful person. Keep on, taking care of Fred. We know that that's not an easy job. Going through that, that's just got to be something. But so far, everything's been going good, and we can't wait to see her in September. Also, she is a Scotchy Bourbon Boy through and through, and represents us amazingly. We love to have her in there too.
A good friend.
So once again, that's what we always talk about. Good bourbon equals good friendship, and and then also, just like I always say at the end, make sure you live dangerously.
Yeah.
Everybody's always telling everybody to be safe. No safety here, man. This life is not safe.
That's right. Life's too short.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yep, for sure. So I just think I agree with you guys. It's been wonderful. This first 100 episodes podcasting. This group that's here was the majority of that. We've been doing the majority of the podcasting and the heavy lifting. And once you get back on your feet down there, and it seems like you are there, Young Nose.
Yeah, once it's more or less, we kind of got the routine. Now I just gotta get the financial flow going, and then I'll be set.
Yeah, and then you can do this. And I always appreciated, you basically, when we podcast, you just didn't show up and start podcasting. You did research, you helped out, you carried the load, and I look forward to doing that, like this in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. It's going to be a little easier, at least I hope, around this time around, because I'm not so bogged down with a lot of work stress. Right. So I actually have a little bit of time, sometimes in the evenings that I can actually do something like that, or look up a topic, and eventually once I get some ideas rolling, I'll be getting a new topic for the Scotchy blog going on. I know that one's been about a month behind, but obviously with the move and everything kind of put me back, but that'll be coming through. And then I don't know when, and I'm not exactly sure how, but I'm intending on trying to stir some conversations on the Scotch side of things. I know we've been very bourbon heavy for the last year and a half, 2 years, but we are the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. So that's, and kind of going way back to what you were saying in the beginning, the very first couple meetings or whatever, when we were just tasting different stuffs. I pretty much fell in love with your Johnny Walker Green Label, that smoky, malty taste. And ever since then, I've been interested in Scotch. I just haven't really been able to pull the trigger on a lot of things. So that might change now that I actually probably have a little bit more availability of trying different stuff. So that'll be something to come in the future too.
Yeah, for sure. We just at one point, this bourbon boom we're gonna ride it, and but then there's gonna be another whiskey boom somewhere else. But it just the bourbon boom is so strong right now. It's just like now the young people are starting to drink bourbon, and you just hear all this stuff, how everybody, it's like harder and harder to get stuff that's even just regular. It's just right now going so crazy. And we'll just keep, like you said, we'll just keep riding it and doing some Scotch here and there. We could probably convince Supernash to try some Scotch again. Hey, try something, he'll not like it and send us it our way.
I already tasted a new Brudlatic. That I want to send up. Yeah.
Bruichladdich.
Brudlatic.
Bruichladdich.
Laddie.
Yeah, what you said.
Yeah, that is Martin.
Group lighting.
It doesn't.
Yeah, we got schooled on that by Martin Duffy.
Group lighting.
Glenn Brown. Yeah, that's like
Awesome.
it's. I think I stay away half the time. A great Odin's Raven is something I've been trying to. I can't still buy it, but if someone in South Carolina can get it.
Yeah, right.
Someone?
I thought about
Someone?
that actually.
Someone who's that?
Someone.
It could be either or. I was like, because now you guys, John can actually order it online and they'll ship it to you. Unlike here in Ohio, where they're just $12. So, anyways, yeah. So I think there's a lot of good things coming for the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're going to keep running it, and we'll just keep getting bigger and bigger. There's no doubt. So,
Sounds great. Awesome.
Check us out.
Yes, sir.
Podcast format.
And so what's the one podcast format that's your favorite there, Young Nose?
Podcast format?
Yeah.
Like the way that we end it, or
No,
Your favorite.
The platform. What's your favorite platform to listen to us on?
Oh, I see.
Mine-
My probably my go-to, because I have an iPhone, is Apple Podcasts. But I really do enjoy Spotify as well. So those are probably the two big ones that I actually listen to podcasts on.
What was the one? Podcast Casts?
No. It was Flamer FM. Flamer.
Flamer. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
That sounds like something my grandpa. It sounds like a dating site my grandpa should
Yeah,
be.
it's like they used to read all the formats, and it's like there's like 25 of them, and one of them I think it's what was it?
I think it's Player FM.
Player FM. And I had
And
written
the way you wrote it, it looked like Flamer.
it's like Flamer FM, and I'm just like, what? And then I looked at it and I couldn't tell. I'm like, I'll go with that.
I think I remember that when you were reading them off that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was in one of the podcasts. I don't remember which one that was, but that was one of the later ones.
Yeah, Jeff should make a blooper reel or a...
Yeah, right. That's
Like
a good
every
one,
fucking podcast all the time. That's a blooper. It's never the bloopers never stop. And it just gets better the more I drink. So yeah, that was I've been in. This has been a ride that I just look forward to, and then what the people that I've been meeting and being able to connect with. I'm going to in July go to Wisconsin, the J. Henry Distillery and J. Henry and Sons Distillery, but I know Joe Henry through Facebook group. He's a Scotchy Bourbon Boy. I mean, gonna do the tour. Aaron Harris. He's a Scotchy Bourbon Boy. He is now the head distiller of Watershed Distillery. I mean, we are talking about being able to meet these people and then go in and see what they're doing. I mean, there's Shay Pridemore and Bill Hockett. Bill Hockett at Dayton Barrel Works, which is he's releasing, bourbons and stuff like that. So it's just a lot of fun to be able to meet all these people and all these Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And then the last thing is we're at 490 members, and
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
500 members should get a t-shirt.
no, the 500 members t-shirt. The 500 member gets a bottle of Elijah Craig with a label that says they are a 500.
You heard it
Yeah,
here
the
live
500
on
member.
YouTube, folks. 500th member, you get the special bottle.
That's on the on the Facebook group. The Facebook group. It's just follow us on. Go to Facebook and follow us on the group. Ask to join, and we will allow you in. And that 500th member. I remember our 100th member was Michael Beach, if you remember that.
Yep,
Yeah.
I remember that one.
But that 500th member is going to be random, and they're not going to know what hits them. So it's like, I've been watching it creep up quickly. It's
Me
like
too.
11 to 17 people a week, which is fantastic. It's fun. And,
Did you see how many people this past week? I was like, oh my gosh. I was looking and where it says see more right there at the end, to where, I was clicked on that and then it's like, one more. And I was like, oh gosh, I was just wondering if that was going to hit the 500 this week.
Yeah. So,
but no.
I mean, we're at Scotchy the on Twitter. I mean, the YouTube channel, we're starting to push more and more. Hopefully this will be something that gets up there. I've been watching a lot of YouTube podcasts to see how I want to do it. Plus, we just bought a brand new video camera that I'm going to be setting up, and that'll be down there in September. So we got that. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening.
We're upgrading our tech, so.
Awesome.
And you wouldn't know it by tonight and all the problems we had, but we're trying.
Blame it on the storm. It's the storm's fault.
All right. So here's a cheers to our 100th episode. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks.
Cheers, 100.
Yes, cheers. And until the next time, just remember we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and support us.
Yes, we are.
And all that good stuff and yada yada.
Yada yada yada. It's like exactly. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, you
just got to keep saying it, Scotchy Bourbon Boys, but, hit that website all the time, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. From there, you can pretty much go anywhere you want to. Facebook, Instagram, contact us, shop merch, Patreon, all that stuff.
Alexa to play.
Yeah, right.
And make sure that when you listen on the podcast that you give us feedback and subscribe. We'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. We definitely appreciate it.
All right, I'm going to stop recording right